7. Barrett outside the switch. Doncic goes all out. Great step. And then he hammers it home. Broke his ankles.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well, and today I'm going to be talking about how much better have the New York Knicks really gotten and how are they going to be in the 2021-22 NBA season. If you end up enjoying this video, be free to give me a thumbs up and click that subscribe button for more content. Let's get right into it, y'all. So I'm going to be starting off with Tom Thibodeau. Everyone just talks about Tom Thibodeau as a great coach, which he is. He knows how to win basketball games, no doubt about it, even though like you could say that some of the things he does is pretty weird, not starting rookies, not really believing in rookies, not really giving a lot of minutes to rookies, but he definitely does get results. He knows what he's doing at the end of the day. Like, quickly still has a long way to go when it comes to the point guard position, but the big time positive is that we have a lot more talent this year. I love my New York Knicks, but on paper, no one expected that team to go to the playoffs. Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. Julius Randle was one of the most hated players like in New York before he stepped onto the court once again in his second season. Mitchell Robinson, foul trouble like crazy, but we knew the physical tools were there. Elfrid Payton, not the best player in the world. He can get after it defensively, but he can't really space the floor. Reggie Bullock, solid 3-and-D guy, but he can't really create his own shot, and RJ Barrett is still young. So you see what Tom Thibodeau was able to do with that past roster, and now you have a guy of Kemba Walker starting at the point guard position. He's going to be splitting time with Derrick Rose, so that adds some depth. You have Evan Fournier, you have RJ Barrett entering his third year. He's going to continue to get better. Julius Randle just came off of an amazing season. You have Mitchell Robinson back healthy. Hopefully he stays healthy for most of the season, and he's ready for playoff time, just in case if he does get hurt in the regular season, which I hope doesn't happen at all. But I really think it adds depth that we have more talent here. So imagine what he's going to be able to do with this roster, even though you could say the Eastern Conference has kind of gone better, which we're going to be getting into later. And another thing that I don't really think is being talked about as well, David Thibodeau, I hate to bring him up. He seemed like a solid to nice guy, but he was not a good coach at all. Like, he just simply wasn't. What he did with RJ's jump shot, not holding guys accountable, no structure, it was just absolutely awful. So the positive here is that RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Alec Burks, Noel, when they enter the building day one, they already know what's expected from them. They know what Tom Thibodeau preaches. No nonsense, a slow, grinded out style of play, even though it may change due to the personnel. But RJ Barrett, there's going to be no setbacks. Julius Randle, there's going to be no setbacks because it's the same coach. They know what's expected, which I think is huge. And RJ Barrett, Julius Randle already know what's expected, so then they could teach the rookies. They could tell what Tom Thibodeau preaches to a Kemba Walker, a Fournier. It's going to be an adjustment to them, but I just love that there's going to be no setbacks for RJ Barrett, and he could just go in, get to work because he knows what's expected. He knows the system. So I think those are great things for the New York Knicks. Stability. And now breaking down the roster upgrades, like I said, we had an Elfrid Payton, we had Reggie Bullock, we had RJ, we had Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, even though that wasn't the entire, that wasn't the starting lineup in the playoffs due to health and all that, but that's the projected starting lineup, or that was the lineup last year, when fully healthy. But now you look at the lineup this season, we signed an Evan Fournier. We're not really going to be talking about his contract because the contract doesn't affect his play on the court. We added a Kemba Walker, we brought back a Nerlens Noel, we brought back a Derrick Rose, we brought back a Taj Gibson, we brought back an Alec Burks. I believe that's everyone at the top of my head. Reggie Bullock actually went on to go to the Dallas Mavericks, so I wish Reggie Bullock the best of luck. And obviously we drafted guys that we're going to be getting into as well. We drafted a Miles McBride, Quentin Grimes, Rokas, Jericho Sims. Yeah, we're going to be talking about those guys as well when it comes to depth. What should we really expect from those guys? But having a Kemba, having an Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, who's expected to make a bigger leap, it's his third year in the NBA. Julius Randle came off of a great year, and Mitchell Robinson, that team's expected to make the playoffs. Last year, it was we might be competitive because we have Tom Thibodeau, but now there's higher expectations, and the comparison of Kemba Walker to Elfrid Payton is just holy shit. Kemba Walker's not a lot better. He's a lot better player than Elfrid Payton. You could say Elfrid Payton's a better player on the defense side of the basketball. He's a solid to an okay defender. There was times that Elfrid Payton was locked in. He would pick people's pockets, but let's not talk about him that much. I wish him the best of luck in his son's uniform. But what did we really struggle with in the playoffs at the end of games? Shot creation. Kemba Walker brings that. One of the best handles in the league. He has that step back in his arsenal. He's really crafty. He's a 3-level scorer. He could do it all out there on the basketball court offensively. Some people may say he's too much of a scoring guard. That's going to really affect the team. But I think Kemba Walker is aware of what he's supposed to bring to the New York Knicks. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's from New York. He's going to play his you-know-what off. But the concern is definitely the knee injuries. Can he stay healthy? But he's going to be splitting time with Derrick Rose. And in my opinion, having Derrick Rose as your backup point guard, I think that's amazing depth. And then you have a Miles McBride or a Quickly. Maybe they look at Quickly as more of a 2. We'll see what goes on to happen because he kind of is this combo guard, or he is. But Kemba Walker is a tremendous basketball player. People saying that he's washed or stupid, it just sucks when he goes on to get hurt. I think that's the only reason people say he's washed, because he gets hurt, but we definitely need him to stay healthy in the New York Knicks uniform. But no doubt about it, Kemba Walker is a good basketball player. So yes, I guess the knock is defense because he is kind of undersized, but we have someone that can close out games as well, take pressure off of an RJ Barrett scoring the ball. And same thing with the Julius Randle. Hopefully Julius Randle's mindset isn't ISO, ISO, ISO. Like, I can swing the basketball. I have better teammates now. Hopefully that is Julius Randle's mentality. And then you move on to an Evan Fournier, who I think is a huge upgrade over Reggie Bullock. Yes, you could also say he's a downgrade when it comes to Reggie Bullock defensively. Evan Fournier isn't an awful defensive player. He is okay. He really does try his hardest out there on the court. But what was the problem? Once again, in the playoffs, shot creation. Elfrid Payton didn't bring it. And same thing here with a Reggie Bullock. Reggie Bullock was really a stationary shooter or scorer of the basketball. He would just like pump fake, put the ball on the floor for like a second, and shoot that basketball. He didn't really have a handle whenever Trae Young would look to close out. Like, Reggie Bullock couldn't even drive on Trae Young because he had no handle at all. Like, Reggie Bullock did not have a versatile offensive game, but yes, he was better defensively. While you have a guy here of Evan Fournier, hopefully he stays healthy. We'll see what goes on to happen. He could take it to the rack. He's a sneaky athlete. He could shoot it from the outside. He's a consistent shooter of the basketball, and I like to say he's a team player. A lot of people are saying he's not a team player. In my opinion, he is. He's just going to open things up a lot more for an RJ, for Randle, for even a Mitch down low, because he could dribble, penetrate, and find a Mitch down low. He can make the basic reads. And you could also say Fournier is in his prime. He's a hell of a scorer of the basketball, but again, he definitely does need to stay healthy. And now moving on to RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett definitely is one of the key X factors, or he is the X factor for this Knicks season. We brought in a Kemba, we brought in an Evan Fournier, but we need RJ Barrett to take that huge leap. The talent coming out at the 3rd overall pick, yes, he made a huge leap when it came to the free throw line, shooting 40% from the outside, 17 points per game, but he still needs to branch out his game. He has to become more versatile of a scorer, more versatile as a basketball player. He was a nice catch and shoot 3-point shooter, but we need to see him shoot off the dribble. We need to see him tighten that handle and really get better as an off-ball defender. He was a solid on-ball defender, but yes, RJ Barrett definitely needs to take that huge leap. Yes, there's pressure taken off of him now because Kemba can shoot off the dribble, Evan Fournier can shoot off the dribble, but you still want to see RJ get a lot better and become more versatile of a basketball player, because I think the better RJ Barrett gets, that's just going to help us even more. But RJ Barrett's putting in the work. I know he's working on shooting off the dribble with Drew Hanlon, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he could bring to the New York Knicks this upcoming season. He's definitely going to be an X factor. And now moving on to the 4 position, Julius Randle, who just got the ginormous contract. And Julius Randle is going to be representing the Knicks for the next few years. And Randle, the thing I loved, as soon as he just got that contract, this man put in the work. He went straight to working out. Randle has that freaking work ethic. And yes, maybe his points per game aren't going to go up. They may even go down. But I feel like he's going to get better at this, the mental part of the game, decision making. Like I said, he may not have to worry about ISO, ISO. I can move the ball. I have better talent around me. I don't have to take the shot at the end of games. Fournier's in his prime. He can shoot it. Kemba Walker as well. But I know Randle wants to be that guy. That's kind of what scares me at the end of the game. So it kind of gets in his head playing in New York and all that. But yes, I do think Randle's going to get better as a basketball player at the mental part of the game, becoming a more efficient basketball player and knowing what shots to take, knowing what shots to not take. And now moving on to the center position, Mitchell Robinson, the guy who did not play a minute of college basketball. He was thinking about it, but he was like, nope, I'm just going to work on my game. And I know everyone wants Mitchell Robinson to add a jump shot. Like, I would like to see him add a nice little midi, but I want to see him add something in the post before he adds something to the outside. Clint Capella doesn't have a jump shot. He's still a very impactful player, even though he is a lot stronger than Mitchell Robinson. I have heard that Mitchell Robinson is getting stronger, or I saw a picture on his Instagram story like a few months back, but we know what Mitchell Robinson is capable of. He's a very great rim runner. He could tear down the rim. He's a lob threat. He has much better hands than Nerlens Noel, and he would have been different in the playoffs. His capability of guarding outside on the perimeter, really protecting the rim. Mitchell Robinson is an absolute beast on defense. He got out of foul trouble, but it all comes down to him really developing his offensive game, being smarter, being more aware out there in the court, and also staying healthy. So the thing I simply love about this starting lineup is the more offensive firepower. It looks like we have more potential closers than an Evan Fournier and a Kemba Walker. We need those guys to stay healthy, and just overall shot creators as well to take pressure off of our main guys moving forward, such as an Barrett and a Julius Randle. And it also adds depth when your starting lineup gets better. Like Derrick Rose is potentially going to be our backup. I know some people that think Derrick Rose should start. We'll see if McBride's the backup, if Quickly is one of those backups. Maybe they look at Quickly as more of a 2 when it comes to being a backup. We brought back Alec Burks, so that's another shot creator to come off the bench right behind Evan Fournier. We saw that capability of bringing that spark. It all comes down to being consistent though. And then we drafted a win now mode player of Quentin Grimes, McBride and Quentin Grimes. We know what McBride's capable of on defense, so I'd like to see him get some burn. I would like to see him get some minutes because he's a better defensive player than Rose and Walker, or at least I think he will be. That was one of his main traits coming out of West Virginia. He's a mentally tough player, but yes, Quentin Grimes out of Houston, things didn't really work out in Kansas, but he's one of the best offensive players coming out of the draft. He really shot it well from beyond the arc, but I do have questions how his shot creation will translate to the NBA because he needs to do a better job of going left, really tightening that handle, but he could definitely shoot it. Then you have Julius Randle, obviously, and then Obi Toppin as the backup. Obi Toppin definitely will need to get better this upcoming season because you want to see Randle get some minutes off. Even though this is Tom Thibodeau, you want to see him really be well rested when it comes playoff time because Randle just looked absolutely drained. I'm not giving him excuses, but you would definitely like to see him have some minutes on the bench because you just don't want him to be killed. You just don't want him to get hurt at all. And if Obi Toppin makes a huge leap, that's going to be better for our overall depth and basketball team. And then, of course, like I said, Mitchell Robinson's our center, starting center. Then you have Noel off the bench. I wish we got someone with more offensive firepower. But Noel also is very valuable because if Mitch goes down, Noel could step in at that center spot. He may not be as good as Mitchell Robinson, but he definitely could be a solid contributor. But yes, he's a great shot blocker. He brings value on defense, shot blocking, but offensively he's absolutely nothing. Has no hands. He could run the floor decently, but he's not like Mitchell Robinson, offensively of running the floor. I'm not saying Mitchell Robinson's a good offensive player, but I do like his awareness better. I do like his hands better on that side of the ball, and really coming off of screens a lot harder because he plays more physical than a Noel. Yes, Mitchell Robinson is not the strongest in the world. Same thing with a Noel, but Mitchell Robinson plays stronger than he really is out there on the court. And also, talking about Jericho Sims, the reason I didn't really touch base on him that much, I actually made a video on him, how he's someone that really didn't get better a year at Texas. You could say he got better at the mental part of the game somewhat, but production-wise, he's a good athlete. But he has a big-time liability when it comes to his jump shot, back to the basket game, but he can guard the perimeter, he can block shots. To give you guys a quick summary right there, he plays with definitely a high motor, and he's built, and he's very strong and has a long wingspan, which could definitely help him out on both ends of the floor. But I definitely look at him as a two-way player. Rokas, he may not play for the New York Knicks, but there is some rumors if he ends up playing well in the summer league, he actually may end up making the Knicks roster, but I'm not sure how his fit will really be there, in my opinion. But I liked bringing back Taj Gibson. He does the little things out there on the court, such as deflections, communicating, just telling people where to be. I really do like Taj Gibson's leadership, and he could help out these young guys when it comes to adjusting to the NBA lifestyle, or just knowing where to be out there on the court, or really knowing what to expect from Tom Thibodeau and all that. And when it comes to Luka Vildoza, I really do look at him as the odd man out. Obviously, our starting point guard's Kemba Walker. Our backup is Derrick Rose. We have Quickly. We drafted McBride. It really does look like Luka Vildoza is the odd man out unless he really impresses in a New York Knicks uniform in practices like the Summer League. We'll see what goes on to happen. But now getting into these other NBA teams, they could say got better or potentially going to the playoffs. So starting off with the Chicago Bulls, they added talent. They added Lonzo Ball, who's looking to make a huge leap, just got a pretty big contract. You could say he's going to continue to get better. He shot the three ball well, shot it better from the free throw line. Maybe you'd like to see more dribble penetration with Lonzo Ball, be more aggressive around the rim, but we know he's a natural talent when it comes to passing the basketball, running in transition, his defense as well, especially on the ball. They added a DeMar DeRozan, but we'll see how the chemistry is, what Billy Donovan really preaches, but that team has talent and can go to the playoffs. The 76ers, not much to talk about. out. I think they're going to the playoffs. The Bucks, the Nets, the Celtics. We'll see what happens with their brand new coach in the point guard position. If they go out there and get a Dennis Schroeder to start at the point guard position, because Reggie Jackson just re-signed with the Clippers, but they still have Brown and Tatum, some of the best young talents in the game, so they have potential to go to the playoffs or be in the play-in. But I think they could be a playoff team. We'll see what goes on to happen with them. With the Heat, you got Jimmy Butler, you have Duncan Robinson, you just re-signed. They're a well-structured basketball team. Pat Riley always does a great job with his team. Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the game. You just acquired a Kyle Lowry, which is huge, a mentally tough player, and I think is a perfect fit. But we don't know until we see it out there on the court. And the Hornets, they have talent. They just added a Kelly Oubre. We know they have LaMelo Ball, who's going to continue to get better. They have PJ Washington. They have Gordon Hayward. But they were on pace to go to the playoffs this past season, but they actually went on to be riddled by injuries. So they were a team that was on pace to go to the playoffs, but just the injuries got in their way. And the Hawks, a lot of people were saying we're better than the Hawks, but the Hawks didn't even have a full year under Nate McMillan, and they were dug like in a giant hole under Lloyd Pierce. And I just listed off 8 teams there that are competitive, but we'll see what goes on to happen. I do have confidence in my New York Knicks. Let me know down below your thoughts and analysis, and peace out, y'all.